Hello, welcome to So Many Whatnots. I am Willow, and today I am going to hopefully show you how I hand quilt. I mostly do small stitch hand quilting, which is what I have here. And I do a little bit of big stitch quilting, which I may do another video on, but today we are going to look at how to do traditional small stitch quilting my way, because it's how I learned. Okay, so a few things to start. I do use a hoop, and mine actually stripped. So I have a new bolt in mine, and I'm going to take it out and put it in the next section, and that's how we're going to start this video. So let me put this aside real quick and find the next section that I'm working on, which may prove to be difficult. All right. It's here somewhere, guys. Okay, here we go. I found it. So, because I use a hoop, I like to have it nice and spread out. And I'm going to start on the edge here. I am doing edge to edge, which means I am quilting from one side all the way to the other. I am not doing a special pattern on the borders. These two are the borders. They're very small borders. They're not very wide. That's just how I designed it. All right, so I have a 14-inch hoop. And what you do with this is you take this one that does not open and put it underneath. And I do this in my lap a lot. You don't have to do this on a table, although it is easier. Okay, and I want to make sure my backing and batting are lined up well. I don't have any basting or pins in this little section here, and that's okay. All right, so then we're going to take this and put it over top, and you will find out after a while how you like your hoop. I like mine tight. I like having my fabric tight over the hoop. This is weird doing it on a desk. All right, so I tighten that up a little bit. And then on mine, I pull my fabric pretty taut. Whoops, got the camera there, sorry. All right, and then I tighten it some more. And I always put mine probably too tight, which is probably how I stripped the bolt on the last one. And I apologize in advance if I knock the camera. I need a better setup here, but this is what I have for now. All right. Okay, so I have my hoop ready to go. And you can do this without a hoop. When I started quilting, all my quilts were made without a hoop. And I can show you how to do that another time. Cat whisker, cool. Okay, speaking of cats, there goes my water. I like to just roll my quilt quick because I do have cats. And you will, with small stitch quilting, end up quilting your cat hair into your quilts. I know, that's strange, but it legit happens. So I like to roll it first because I have a cat, Moo, who has made this quilt his home. He loves it. He is always sleeping on it. I have so many photos of him sleeping on this quilt. I will pop one up here when I edit this video. Okay. So, just a really quick note. When you put your quilt sandwich together, it's good to leave a lot. I don't even know how many inches that is, but you know, it's a good hand. And that's only so you can do the borders. If you're using a hoop, it's always good to leave extra, but especially if you're using a frame or a hoop, you're going to need that to hold it. Okay, let's talk about needles quick. I have a few different kinds. Currently I am using John James size 10. And these are fairly easy to come by. I've noticed most places carry them. It's a very popular brand. I have 11s that I am, see, cat hair, that I am working on learning to use. I really wanted to get into using a shorter needle. So I am working with these also, but really using the size 10s. I just got Dritz needles, and these are, let's see here, 4, 5, 7, 9, and 10 sizes. And I actually like these, but their size 10s are just a little, just a hair longer than the John James. But they're nice to use. I like those. And my favorite needles are the Colonial size 10 betweens. You can see I have 2 in here, but they're both bent. They're not usable, but I can't let go of them because they're all I have left. I am having a hard time finding more Colonials, so I am just scouring quilt shops. Every time I go to a quilt shop or, you know, online or something, I see, you know, if I can find Colonials, I would really like to get some more of these. Once I find them, I'll probably use these exclusively. But for now, I'm using the John James and the Dritz, and those are working just fine. I know a lot of people use size 9, 11, and even 12. But I seem pretty comfortable with size 10. Okay, and then for quilting, there are lots of different threads. I use Gutermann 220, which I don't have on me right now. And that's a 40 weight, I believe. And right now I'm using Aurifil 40. And it might be a little thin, but I really like it. And it glides so nicely. Okay, so for this, see, I think that's all first. Oh, you'll need a thimble. There's lots of different types of thimbles. I don't like this for this type of work. I do use it for other types of quilting. There's these kinds that I have this for another finger right now, but they slip on. And stuff like this, it's good for if you have nails. I keep my quilting nail really short. Yeah, there's just all different kinds of thimbles. You'll just have to find one you like. I'm still trying to find the perfect thimble. But right now, I have been using this Clover. And what you really want, if you're using one like this, is not a rounded top, but the one that has this little ridge here. You can see it if I go like that. You can see there's just this ridge inside. Okay. And then I also have a tiny pair of scissors and I have beeswax. So let's get started. All right, so for my thread, I was taught to take a tiny piece, just a few inches at a time. I don't do that. I measure my arm out to about the center of my chest. So I'm not sure how long that is, maybe 3 feet, probably a yard, yeah. A yard, a meter. Yeah, so about that. And then I snip that off. Now, a trick is to use this end of the thread. You put this end of the thread through your needle and you knot the end that you cut off. So when I pull it off the spool, I always put the side I'll put through my needle at the top, and then I leave this at the bottom. Then I know every time I pick this up, that's the top. Okay, so then I just run that over the top of my beeswax, and then I pull the whole thing across it a couple of times. Now I do find that you don't really have to wax or a fill, but it just helps just the tiniest bit if you do. All right, let's see here. I am going to use this one. And we're going to thread the needle. All right, now this is still the end I pulled off of here. So that's still this end right here. And I'm going to pull that and leave a good little bit here. Okay? And then we're going to make a quilter's knot. And how we do that, and it's a little hard to see. We're going to take the end. See if I can get this in the camera real well. Okay, take the end and put it opposite, and then grab that end. Okay, just like that. Now, depending on your thread and depending on your needle, that will depend how many times you wrap it. For this, I like 5. Whoops, came off. Let's try that again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I'm going to grab that between my finger and my thumb and still holding on tight. Wow, my fingers are not working today. All right, pull that needle through while still holding on. Okay. And then you'll have a knot there. The first few times you do it, it may be awkward. There are times where I just get a big jumble at the bottom and have to redo it. But eventually it just becomes second nature and it becomes really fast. All right. So there's one more thing I forgot to do. I like to cut my basting threads off as soon as I have my fabric in my hoop. Only because I have a habit of stitching straight through it and then it's really hard to get out. Or I end up ripping a thread or something always happens. So I do take these off. And I always leave a little bit. Oh, just a little bit there. When I baste, I use a different colored thread also. This is like a lime green. I never use red or black or anything where I'm afraid the dye might get into the whites. Yeah, we'll go up one more on this. All right. That's all better now. All right. So now's the fun part. And it will be really fun because I have a micro or a camera stand right in front of me, and I'm going to try not to bump it. Usually I quilt on the couch, not at my desk. All right, so you can see the back. I've got a little bit of a bunch in there, but it's right here. Let me redo this real quick. Like I said, I'm used to doing this on the couch, not on a flat surface. And you would think that you wouldn't get bunches on a flat surface, but here we are. Okay. Now, some people like a real loose center. I do not. But as you learn, you'll figure out what you like. And a lot of people don't even use a hoop. Some people use a big frame. I only quilt towards me and to the left. I tried to learn with my thumb to go other directions, and it's not for me. So I like the hoop because I can turn it, which means I will probably never use a frame unless I am doing just straight stitching. Okay. So we have our thread, we have our knot, we have a little bit of beeswax, and for the Baptist fan pattern I'm working bottom to top, left to right. And typically I am working in 2 levels at once. Now just for this video, I kind of wanted one right in the middle here, but I am going to start on the edge here. And sometimes I will put a safety pin in right here if I feel I need to, but I do not feel I need to. Okay, so on the end, there's 2 ways to start. You can come under here, grab a little bit of batting, and tie a couple knots using the batting. I find just the regular way of starting works on the edge just as well as the middle for me. But that's one way to do it, is just fold it back, grab some batting, and tie a knot. So for how I start, I like to get almost a needle's length, and I just start a little farther back. Okay, now what I'm doing here is I am grabbing some batting and just the first layer. I am not grabbing anything on the back. You cannot see my needle. It's right here. Okay? So I'm pushing that through, and then the knot gets stuck. So I just put my needle in there. I grab this and pop it through. Okay? Now you don't want to pop it through too far or it will come out the other side. Now I have this little tail here, and you can do one of 2 things. You can cut it or stick your needle down. Oops, let's see if you can see that on the video. You stick your needle down and turn, and normally it will pull that right in. Okay, and if I get another long tail, I will show that again. Okay, now grab your thimble. Okay, now I'm not sure how I'm going to do this on camera. Okay. So now, I hope you can see this. Let me see. All right. So I am putting this hand, my left hand, underneath, and I'm using my middle finger to feel. And I can't get this any closer with the way my camera's set up. But you can see I'm going right under there to feel that right there. right underneath my thread. And I'm going to take this needle and I'm going to stick it through until I feel it hit my finger, okay? Pick up the needle. And then, when I feel it, I'm going to put my thimble on the needle, okay? And let go. Wow, it is so hard to do this really slow. All right. Thimble on, let go. All right. So I can feel it through the bottom, just the tip. Okay, then I'm going to rock and bring it to the side and put it through just till I see the tip. Okay. Then I'm going to come straight up, push through until I feel it, and then go to the side and just push until I see it. Okay, straight up and to the side. Now I can usually get about 2 or 3 stitches before I have to pull it through. If you put too many stitches on, then it's going to be really hard to pull that needle through. Now, if that's the case, you can always get a needle puller. And this goes on like this, okay? And then you literally, you grab the needle in here, push down and pull. Okay, it's simple. It's kind of annoying and it takes a while to get used to. And I don't like to use it if I don't have to, but I do have it in case I need it. All right, so let's do this again. Okay, I try not to pick up my needle like this. And the reason is then you have to put it in here and then you have to grab it like that. And then, you know, it's an extra step. So I try to remember to grab it with these 2 fingers, my ring finger and my thumb. Okay, so let's try that again. Stick it through right next. I'm trying to get a better angle for you guys. It's really difficult. Let's see if I can do it sideways here a little bit. Okay. Stick that in right next to it. And I am straight up and down. And then you turn. And I kind of push through and I use my back finger to push up. My thumb is pushing down. Okay. And then, oops. Up, down, okay, up, and down, and then push through, and pull through. And these stitches are really not very good. Usually I get really nice small stitches. These are really big right here, so that's okay. It's on the end. We're just going to go with it. Okay. Now, I'm just going to keep doing that. And you can kind of see how, if you look here, you can kind of see how my back finger is pushing and pulling. Okay, so pushing, pull, push, pull. So when it's down, my finger is down farther because I don't want to stab myself too much. And then I kind of push up a little when it's time to come back up. And then I kind of squeeze with my thimble finger and my thumb. Okay. And I hope this is a little helpful. It's one of those things that is very difficult to to describe. Okay, now I am coming just to where my last row is here. Okay, and then I'm going to turn because I'm going to go back this way. So I am turning, and it might be a little better to see down here. Okay, now we have to travel. I don't want to tie a knot here. There's no point in tying a knot there. There would be so many knots. So we're going to travel, and we're going right to this mark here. It's a little hard to see. See if I can get that closer. Okay. And traveling is really awkward at first, but you'll get it eventually. It takes a little while. Okay, so what I'm going to do? I want it to look pretty, so I'm going to make a teeny tiny little stitch right between the top. I am not coming out the back. I am not stabbing or coming out the back. I am going between the layers about a little over halfway, probably like 3/4 of the way. And I'm going to push my needle through. And then I'm going to pull it, but not the whole way. Okay? I'm going to turn or flip and then push it through. And it's right at the corner. I'm going to put it on my nail and pop it through. Okay? Now, I wish this was easier to see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go do these two real quick. And then when we get here, I'll be able to show you a little better what I'm talking about. So let me just do a few here and show you what's going on a little faster. Okay, I want to stop here real quick to show you. I don't go all the way to the edge. I'm going to put some binding on. And so I want to stay 1/4 to 1/2 inch off the edge. It's okay if you go pretty close, but you also don't want your stitches coming out and having it fray or anything. Or when you go to trim, trim this off, you don't want to cut off your quilting. So I like to stay about 1/4 to 1/2 inch off the edge. have a bit of chunkiness right here. And so my stitches are just going to be a little bigger. I have yet to figure out how to make them small over seams, especially like these corners here. They can get really, really awkward. And so my stitches, they're just a little bigger, and that's okay. All right, so I am at the next section here. So I am going to show you how to travel again, and hopefully it'll be a little easier to see on the lighter fabric here. Now I have this turned awkwardly. All right. Oh, there it goes. All right. Maybe I can get this in a good position. All right. So, see if I can hold this a little closer, and it's a lot easier to see on the less busy fabric. Okay. I have already done this line. I have done this line here, and I need to move to this line, and I don't want to tie a knot. So I am going to come in here somewhere where it's going to make a mock stitch. It'll look like a stitch. And I'm going to go between the fabric and the batting, but not through the back. I'm going to push that through. Okay. Now, whoops, I pulled it out. All right. Now I'm going to pull it out, but not all the way. And what I like to do is kind of just turn it, push it, whatever you do. Did you see how that went? I did not pull this needle out. I just turned it. Okay. Now we're going to push it over. You can see it traveling there. See? And I'm going to put it where I want it and pop it through. And sometimes you'll need to use your thimble. I use the inside of my thumbnail sometimes. And you can travel multiple times like that. You can keep turning. For this, they're only 1 inch apart. And the size needle I'm using, which is a 10, I only have to go through one side, like one turn. All right. Now, let's see if we can see some quilting a little better on this. All right. You can see my finger coming through the back. Okay, I'm going to put that right there. And you'll see when I stick the needle down in, my finger comes up. And then it kind of just drops back so I don't stab myself. And then I kind of push it through. Now, the problem with that is you kind of get this. You get this. You get either just like a scab or you get a callus. It's not pretty, but that is quilter's finger. A lot of people will use something on their finger to prevent that. I don't. I like to feel the tip of the needle. I just always have. That's how I do it. That's how a lot of people do it. And we just have ugly fingers. But you can absolutely get a different thimble. There are tools you can use that are rounded. And so your needle just kind of slides right off of them. There's lots of different ways you can protect your finger. I choose not to. All right. Now, let's see if we can get a better view of the quilting here on this lighter fabric. Okay, so let's pick our needle up with these 2 fingers. Okay, and put it in real close to the last one until we feel it come through. Now, if you have like a thimble or something and you're pressing against the fabric, your needle will stop. Okay. Let's see if I can get an angle to where you can see this better. Maybe. Okay. Needles in, transfer to the thimble, and we're straight up and down. And so I'm going to push up with my other finger. Whoop, it popped through. And I'm going to slide that thimble to like a 90-degree angle, and I'm pushing down on this fabric to get a smaller stitch. Okay, just till it comes through, and my lighting's bad, so these stitches might not be great. Okay, you can see that come through there, and then I'm going to go straight up, and I'm going to push just gently until I feel it come through, and off to the side, 90-degree angle, and just push a tiny, tiny bit until you see it pop through again. And then up and down. Okay, well, I took 3 stitches. Let me get that real close so you can see that. And those are pretty even stitches. I'm actually pretty proud of those because my stitches can be all over the place. Those are pretty good, pretty even, and I'm happy with those. Now, if you have stitches you're not happy with, just pull the needle out and start over. There is nothing wrong with that. Personally, I find 2 or 3 stitches, depending on the needle, make it to where I can pull it out without having to use a needle puller or pliers or other tools. With the colonials, I can usually get 4 stitches. But with the John James and the Dritz, I find 2 or 3 is pretty standard for me not having to use the needle puller. All right. Whoops, got a little knot there. That happens on occasion, not often. All right, so that's it. Now, I have noticed lately, I thought I had been getting 9 stitches per inch because I was measuring between the, I can just push that back with my finger too if it's too big. I was measuring between the fans because these are 1-inch fans. But when I use an actual ruler, I'm getting about 10 stitches per inch, which honestly is pretty good in my mind. Some really, really good quilters can get like 12 stitches per inch or even more. But this is good for me. And I'm really happy that I can get these itty bitty tiny stitches. They're not all like that. You can see these are a lot farther apart and these are way closer together. So, it's all, sometimes it's just based on the day. And you can go as slow as you need. You can go faster. I've gotten a little faster, but I'm still pretty slow at it. I am not a professional by any means, but I really enjoy doing it. And while I do this, I listen to audiobooks. I watch, well, I don't really watch per se. I glance at YouTube videos. I try to find really long ones, and then I do a lot of listening. Yeah, so that's kind of what I do. I do mostly things I can listen to because you're constantly looking. When I crocheted and knit, I didn't really have to look at what I was doing, so I watched a lot more TV, but with sewing, I find I need to look at it, so I do more listening than watching. But I do like a a good long YouTube video. I guess I could make a playlist or something. But I usually just, when it's over, I stop, I find another one. And I just keep going and going and going. But I don't really have much else to say on. Sometimes I have to wiggle that to get it through these really tough spots. I don't have a whole lot to say on quilting because I think it's one of those things you just keep doing and keep doing, and eventually you get better at it. And if you can pick up a tip or two on the way, like this, literally, I picked this up from, oh no, I can't remember. It was on YouTube, and she said, always pick it up with these two fingers. And it's literally just because then you don't have to transfer, you know? It just makes it a lot easier. Now, I do pull it out with these, and then I switch. Because I'm going to switch anyway. If it gets all tangled up, I stick it in there, and then I grab it. I do not tie off if I need to stop. But I also have cats, so I don't leave it stuck in here. If you don't have any animals or kids, you could just, like, leave your needle. Just stick it in there like that. It's fine. If I need to stop and set it down, I take 2 or 3 stitches. Let me just do this quick. 2 or 3 stitches. I go halfway through and I leave it. And that's it. So yeah, that's pretty much how I hand quilt. It takes me about a half hour to do one whole fan, which is 5 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this little tiny section takes about a half hour, sometimes a little longer, rarely less. And I would just keep going. If I was doing this without a hoop, I would do this fan, and then I would go right next to it, and then next to it. But where I'm using a hoop, I usually try to get, it would be this one and this one in the hoop. And then, so I would do this one and then go up and do the one behind it. Okay, so yeah, that's how I do Baptist fans. When I find these little threads from when I sewed this together using a sewing machine, they just pull out. And they're just little fuzzies from the edges, or, you know, they're just little doodads that come out. If they don't come out, I just cut them off. That one just pulled off. So yeah, that's it. That is how I do it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave your questions and I will make another video if there are enough questions, or I will answer them. And I really want to help everybody learn how to hand quilt. I think it is one of those skills that will become lost someday with all the technology, you know, and nothing against long armers. I love the look of a long armed quilt. They are so beautiful. I just really enjoy sitting and hand quilting. It takes a long time, but if you can do it, which you can, it's just a very enjoyable process for a lot of people. I'm not saying everybody. You might not enjoy it. You may do it and be like, nope, I'm never doing this again. That's okay too. That's why we have long armors. For those of us who prefer making quilt tops and who do not enjoy hand quilting. One last thing. When you are finished your thread, which I like to leave about this much to work with. I can't really say how long that is. You won't need your thimble for this. We're going to tie a knot. Okay, this is how we finish. And I hope you can see that. All right, so the knot is kind of the same exact thing we did to start our thread. We're going to take, oh, it's so hard to see. Well, I wonder if I put this under it, if you could see better. Okay, maybe a little bit. You can see a little bit there. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I have my needle and I'm going to put it the same way we started, okay? Tip up. Nope, it's better without that, I think. Okay. So tip up. I'm going to wrap around 2, 3, and I do 4, okay? Now, I'm going to lay my needle down, kind of pull that a little taut, and I'm going to put my finger on top of those wraps. And I'm going to hold it there, and I'm going to pull the needle out and kind of, I have no fingernail left on this finger, but usually I use my fingernail and just kind of slide it through until you feel that knot. So now there's a knot there. Let's see if you can see the knot. It's very teeny tiny, but it is right there. Okay, so now we have a knot in our thread basically the same way we made it to start with. Okay, try not to pull that out. All right, then I am going to put this, now there's 2 ways. If you have a really long space between your knot, you can make 1 more stitch. Okay, you can even go back a stitch. Sometimes I do that. But if it's about how it is now, you want to try to go back through the same hole that you came out, and you don't have to. Now, again, we're going through the sandwich. We do not want to come out the back or the front. So I am just going about that far in, that's actually a little over half of the needle. I'm going to pull through And then again, pull it till it pops. And you should just hear a little pop. Okay? And then we'll cut that off and call it a day. Actually, I won't call it a day because I have a lot to do on this today. All right, that is how I hand quilt. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you got something out of this video. Sorry it's a little awkward, but I don't plan out any tutorials or anything. This is my second one. I just kind of stitch and chat, and whatever comes up, comes up. And hopefully there is something here that can help somebody. So definitely like this video, subscribe to my channel if you would be so kind, and leave a comment with your questions, and I will answer them either in the chat or in another video. Thank you so much. Bye.